UST Now, multiple sources with direct knowledge of private conversations inside the royal circle, are revealing what they describe as the most personal and urgent concern King Charles has expressed since his cancer diagnosis. It is not about state matters. It is not about legacy, policy, or public approval. It is about Archie and Lilibet. It is about a grandfather who is facing serious illness and who does not want to leave this world as a stranger to his own grandchildren. King Charles, now 76 and undergoing ongoing cancer treatment, has reportedly spoken in deeply emotional terms about the possibility that time may not be on his side. While official palace statements remain measured and carefully worded, those who have sat with him in private describe a man who has become painfully aware that life does not stretch endlessly ahead. He knows his condition is serious. He knows treatment at his age is unpredictable. And he knows that relationships delayed can become relationships denied forever. Sources say the king has expressed one clear and repeated wish. He wants to know his grandchildren before he dies. Not through photographs, not through birthday cards sent across an ocean, not through reports from aides. He wants to sit with them. He wants to hear their voices. He wants them to know who he is, not as a monarch, but as their grandfather. In private conversations, Charles has reportedly used simple, almost heartbreaking language. He has said he does not want Archie and Lilibet to grow up thinking their grandfather did not care. He does not want to become a distant figure in history books to them. He wants memories. He wants moments. He wants something real. Those close to him describe a shift in tone from the composed reserve he has maintained for most of his public life. There is no anger in his voice when he speaks about this. There is no demand. There is no command. There is grief. There is urgency. And there is the quiet fear that the opportunity may slip away entirely. According to insiders, Charles has privately acknowledged that his health journey has changed how he sees time. Cancer has a way of narrowing focus. It forces clarity. It removes illusions about endless tomorrows. The king has reportedly said that he does not know how long he has. He does not speak in dramatic predictions, but he speaks with awareness. The most painful part of this situation, sources say, is not physical discomfort or the weight of royal duty. It is the separation from Prince Harry and the barrier that stands between him and the children. The king has made clear in private that whatever disagreements exist between adults should not prevent a grandfather from knowing his grandchildren. And yet, as of this moment, that is exactly what is happening. Charles has continued to carry out selected public engagements. He appears steady. He appears determined. But those closest to him say that behind closed doors, there is a quieter, more vulnerable reality. Treatment days leave him tired. Recovery takes longer. The future feels less certain than it once did. And in that uncertainty, one question echoes again and again. Will he ever get the chance? Sources emphasize that the king is not asking for public reconciliation ceremonies. He is not demanding headlines or official family portraits. He is asking for something private, something human, a visit, a meeting, a few days, time in a garden, a conversation at eye level, the kind of ordinary moments that grandparents everywhere take for granted. He has reportedly reflected on his own experience with his grandmother, the Queen Mother, and the comfort that relationship provided during difficult periods of his childhood. He understands the unique role a grandparent can play, softer than a parent, less complicated, free from authority struggles. He wants to offer that presence. He fears he may never be allowed to. According to people familiar with the situation, repeated attempts to open this door have been made quietly over the past year. Messages have been sent. Invitations extended, flexibility offered. The king has even indicated he would travel if necessary, that he would meet on neutral ground, that he would accept any reasonable condition simply for the chance to know the children. But nothing has changed. Harry, sources say, understands his father's wish. He knows about the illness. He knows about the urgency. He has reportedly told close friends that he does not want his children to miss the opportunity to know their grandfather. Yet action has not followed intention. And so the clock continues to move. Those who have witnessed the king's private moments describe something rarely seen in public life, an elderly man confronting the limits of time, holding on to hope, yet preparing himself for disappointment. They say he has quietly acknowledged that he cannot force love and he cannot command closeness. He can only ask. As of tonight, that request remains unanswered in any meaningful way. The palace will not confirm these emotional details. Official channels remain silent beyond standard health updates. But the human story unfolding behind the scenes is one that insiders say is impossible to ignore. A monarch facing mortality, a family divided, two small children growing older by the month, and a grandfather who may not have many months left to wait. The question hanging in the air now is not about royal protocol or public image. It is about time, how much remains, and whether Prince Harry will move before that time runs out completely. Because according to those closest to King Charles, the fear is no longer abstract. It is immediate, it is personal, and it grows heavier with each passing week. Now let us examine what has actually happened behind the scenes over the past year, because the pattern of attempts and refusals tells us exactly why this situation has reached such a critical point. Sources close to the king confirm that King Charles has made multiple efforts to reach Prince Harry directly. These were not public gestures. They were not leaks designed for sympathy. They were private communications sent quietly, respectfully, and without conditions. In those messages, Charles reportedly made one thing clear. He is not demanding reconciliation. He is not asking for public statements. He is asking to see his grandchildren. He has offered to travel to California. He has offered to meet without press. He has offered to put aside every disagreement for the sake of the children. According to insiders, the king's tone in these communications has been humble, not authoritative. This is not a monarch issuing commands. This is a father and grandfather asking, but each time the result has been the same. No concrete arrangement, no scheduled visit, no confirmed meeting. Sources describe a repeated cycle. Charles reaches out. There is acknowledgement. There are conversations about possibility, then silence. Weeks pass, months pass. Nothing changes. The king has also continued sending birthday gifts and Christmas presents to Archie and Lilibet, cards, thoughtful items chosen with care. According to those close to him, he does not even know if the children receive them or understand who they are from. The uncertainty is part of the pain. He wonders if his name is spoken in their home. He wonders if they are told that their grandfather thinks of them. That question alone, insiders say, has brought him visible sadness. Prince William has reportedly been asked to act as a quiet intermediary, not to repair his own broken relationship with Harry, but simply to communicate one specific message, that the grandchildren should not be caught in the middle. William, sources say, has delivered that message. The response has not led to action. It is important to understand that this is not about palace rules or formal security obstacles. Charles has made clear that he is willing to meet under any practical arrangement necessary. He has shown flexibility. The obstacle, according to those familiar with the situation, is not logistics, it is permission. Sources close to Harry consistently point to one central factor: Meghan's firm opposition to allowing the children to have contact with the royal family. From her perspective, the institution caused harm. She has spoken publicly about her experiences, about feeling unsupported, about racism within the media environment, about mental health struggles during her time in the UK. Those wounds, from her viewpoint, remain unresolved. And because of that, insiders say she does not want her children exposed to that world. Harry, however, is described as conflicted. He does not fully share the same view when it comes to his father personally. Sources indicate that Harry recognizes the difference between the institution and the individual man who is now seriously ill. He knows Charles loves him. He knows Charles loves the children, and he reportedly feels the moral weight of the situation, but he has not acted against Meghan's clear and firm position. Those close to Harry describe him as torn. On one side is his wife, whose boundaries he has consistently defended since leaving royal life. On the other side is his father, facing cancer treatment and asking for something deeply human. According to insiders, Harry speaks about wanting his children to know their grandfather, yet he has not taken the step that would make it happen. That paralysis is what has shifted the emotional tone inside the palace from hope to quiet resignation. The king's advisors are said to be increasingly aware that time is not neutral. Every month without contact is not just a delay, it is a loss. Archie and Lilibet are growing older. Childhood is moving forward. Moments that could have been shared are disappearing permanently. Sources also emphasize the psychological dimension of this. Medical professionals who work with cancer patients consistently acknowledge that stress affects recovery. Emotional strain is not separate from physical health. Those around Charles worry that the ongoing grief over this estrangement weighs heavily on him during treatment. They do not describe him as angry. They describe him as tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of repeating the same request. In private moments, Charles has reportedly said that he cannot understand why a visit must be impossible. He is not asking for public appearances. He is not asking for royal duties. He is asking for private time. Even a few days would matter. Even a single visit would create a memory. The king is said to have reflected on how quickly children change at that age, how quickly they grow. He knows that if he waits too long, they will not remember him as an active presence. He will be reduced to a story told after he is gone. And perhaps most painful of all, insiders say, is that Charles believes Harry understands this. He believes his son knows exactly what is at stake. Yet still, nothing moves. As the weeks pass, palace insiders say there is a growing awareness that this situation cannot remain frozen forever. Illness does not pause, age does not reverse, and childhood does not wait. The question that now hangs heavily over everything is simple. What happens if the window closes before Harry makes a decision? Because inside the palace, according to those who have witnessed these private conversations, the king has already begun preparing himself for that possibility. Now let us examine what this reveals about the deeper fracture inside this family, because what we are witnessing is no longer just a disagreement. It is a moral crossroads. Those who have spent time around King Charles in recent months describe a man who has become more reflective than ever before. Serious illness has a way of stripping away distraction. It narrows life down to essentials. Titles fade. Public arguments lose importance. What remains are relationships. And in Charles's case, one relationship feels painfully incomplete. Sources say he has spoken about regret, not in a dramatic way, not in self-pity, but in quiet acknowledgement that his relationship with Harry was never as simple as he wished it had been. He has reportedly admitted to people close to him that his own years as a distant and heavily burdened father may have contributed to emotional distance. But what he does not accept, what he cannot accept, is that this distance should now extend to his grandchildren. He understands estrangement between adults. He does not understand denying children the chance to know their grandfather. Those close to the situation say Charles has never framed this as a public battle. He does not want headlines attacking Harry. He does not want pressure campaigns. In fact, insiders say he is deeply uncomfortable with the idea that this private grief could become political ammunition. He sees it as something much simpler, a grandfather asking for time. But time is exactly what he does not control. Prince William, according to multiple sources, watches this situation with a different kind of pain. His own relationship with Harry is described as permanently fractured. There is no expectation of reconciliation there, but William reportedly draws a firm distinction between adult conflict and children's relationships. Sources close to William say he finds it deeply troubling that his father must ask repeatedly for something so basic. He understands choosing distance for personal protection. He does not understand claiming to want a relationship while taking no steps to create it. That distinction matters. William is said to believe that once King Charles is gone, the weight of this decision will not disappear. It will settle permanently, not as public judgment, but as private knowledge. There will be no way to recover missed birthdays, no way to recreate early childhood memories, no way to give children back a grandfather they never met. And those around the king say Charles knows this too. In recent conversations, he has reportedly spoken about legacy, not in terms of monarchy, but in terms of memory. He has asked a painful question: when Archie and Lilibet are older, what will they be told? Will they believe their grandfather did not try? Will they assume he did not care enough? That thought, insiders say, troubles him more than his medical prognosis. He wants them to know he asked. Sources describe one particularly emotional private moment in which Charles expressed that he hopes someday, when they are old enough to understand the complexities of adult conflict, they will learn that he did not close the door. He kept it open. He waited. There is no bitterness in these reflections, according to those present. There is sadness, a dignified sadness that has replaced earlier optimism. Meanwhile, Harry's position remains described as conflicted but unmoving. Those close to him say he genuinely believes he is protecting his family. He views the past through the lens of pain, media scrutiny, public criticism, institutional coldness. From his perspective, creating distance was survival. But survival decisions made in one moment can become barriers in another. Harry reportedly struggles with the image of his father as a sick man asking for something simple. He knows the diagnosis is real. He knows the treatment is serious. Yet insiders say he also fears that allowing contact without broader resolution could reopen emotional wounds for his wife. And so the stalemate continues. This is where the situation becomes heavier than politics. It becomes about moral responsibility, about whether personal grievances should outweigh a dying man's request, about whether protection has turned into isolation. Those watching closely say the atmosphere around King Charles has changed subtly in recent weeks, not dramatically, not in visible crisis, but in tone. Conversations about the future carry a quieter urgency. Planning is done carefully, energy is conserved, public appearances are balanced against treatment schedules, and in the private hours, the king reportedly returns to the same wish, a meeting, a visit, a chance. He is not asking for forgiveness. He is not demanding apologies. He is not setting terms. He is asking for presence. The most haunting detail shared by insiders is this. Charles has reportedly acknowledged that he cannot force his son to act. He cannot override Meghan's decision. He cannot command love into existence. He can only continue to express it. And if nothing changes, he may leave this world with that love unspoken face to face. For those close to him, that possibility feels increasingly real. Because illness does not negotiate. It moves forward whether families resolve their differences or not. And the question now is no longer whether reconciliation is possible in theory. The question is whether Prince Harry will move before theory becomes regret. Now let us examine the three possible outcomes, because this situation cannot remain suspended forever. Illness moves forward, childhood moves forward, and decisions that are delayed eventually become decisions made by default. The first scenario is the one those closest to King Charles still quietly hope for. Something shifts inside Prince Harry, whether it is a medical update that brings sharper clarity, a private letter from his father that breaks through hesitation, or a moment of personal reckoning that outweighs every other concern. He decides to act. In this scenario, Harry arranges a visit. It does not need to be public. It does not need to be photographed. It does not require speeches or statements. It is simply a private meeting between a grandfather and his grandchildren. Charles gets to kneel down, to hear their voices, to speak to them not as a king, but as grandpa. The children see him as a living person, not a distant figure attached to headlines. This is the outcome that would change everything. Because once that first meeting happens, the tension dissolves into memory. The door opens. Even if broader family conflicts remain complicated, the children would at least carry one moment that cannot be erased, a beginning. But this scenario requires one thing that has not yet happened, decisive action. The second scenario is more fragile. Contact occurs, but only at the very end. A final visit arranged when Charles's health has visibly declined. A meeting heavy with emotion, shadowed by hospital rooms or visible weakness. In this version, the encounter provides closure for the adults, but not a relationship for the children. There is a difference between knowing someone and saying goodbye to someone you just met. Sources close to the king say this is not what he wants. He does not want a farewell scene. He does not want a last-minute photograph that feels symbolic but hollow. He wants time, ordinary time, when he still has the strength to sit in a garden, to tell a story, to laugh. Time is what makes a relationship real, and time is exactly what is narrowing. The third scenario is the one that palace insiders increasingly fear. Nothing changes. Weeks turn into months. Treatment continues. Public appearances become less frequent, and then one day the world wakes to an announcement that King Charles has passed away. In that moment, every possibility disappears. There would be no second chance, no delayed visit, no explanation that repairs absence. Archie and Lilibet would grow up hearing about a grandfather they never truly knew. And Prince Harry would carry the irreversible knowledge that the window closed while he hesitated. Those close to William and Catherine reportedly believe this is the outcome that will leave the deepest mark, not because of public criticism. Public opinion fades, but private memory does not. You cannot give your children back a lost grandparent. You cannot recreate early years. You cannot rewind time once it has chosen its direction. And according to sources familiar with Charles's private reflections, the king is painfully aware of this third possibility. He does not dramatize it. He does not speak in despair, but he has acknowledged that it may happen. He has reportedly told close associates that he cannot make this decision for Harry. He cannot change Meghan's position. He cannot override the past. He can only keep the door open. What strikes those who have heard him speak about this is the absence of blame. He does not rant. He does not threaten consequences. Instead, he expresses a hope that someday his grandchildren will understand that he tried. That word, tried, carries weight. Because when history looks back at reigns, it measures policies and public events. But when families look back at relationships, they measure effort. Did he try? Did she reach out? Did someone close the door? Inside the palace, there is an understanding that the next chapter may not be written slowly. Health situations can shift quickly at this stage of life. Stability today does not guarantee stability tomorrow. That awareness has intensified the emotional atmosphere. Advisors manage schedules carefully. Energy is protected. Stress is minimized where possible. But the one stress that cannot be managed by staff is the ache of separation. And so, as of tonight, we stand at a crossroads. One path leads to reconciliation in time. One path leads to closure without connection. And one path leads to permanent silence. The difference between them rests not with the palace, not with public opinion, but with a decision that has yet to be made. Because every day that passes without action quietly strengthens the third scenario. And time, unlike forgiveness, does not wait. So here is where everything stands tonight. King Charles is 76 years old. He is undergoing cancer treatment. He continues to appear in public with discipline and composure. But behind the formal statements and carefully managed schedules is a man who understands something very clearly. Time is no longer theoretical. According to those closest to him, his greatest remaining wish is painfully simple. He wants his grandchildren to know him before he dies, not as a sovereign, not as a historical figure, as a grandfather. He has reached out. He has offered flexibility. He has made clear that no broader reconciliation is required for this one request. He has separated adult conflict from childhood innocence. He has expressed love without condition, and still the door remains closed. Prince Harry, by all accounts, knows the seriousness of his father's condition. He knows the urgency. He knows what is at stake. Sources describe him as emotionally aware of the consequences, yet still unable or unwilling to override the position that has held firm since he left royal life. Meghan's opposition to exposing the children to the royal environment remains described as absolute. From her perspective, this is protection. From Charles's perspective, it is distance that may soon become permanent. Between those two perspectives stand two young children who do not choose the conflict, but live inside its consequences. Inside the palace, there is no public campaign being prepared. There is no pressure strategy unfolding. Instead, there is something quieter and more dignified. The king continues to leave the door open. He continues to send love through whatever channels remain available. He continues to hope, but hope does not stop the clock. Those who have witnessed his private moments say the most heartbreaking statement he has made is this: he hopes that when Archie and Lilibet are old enough to understand, they will know he did not choose this distance. He hopes they will learn that he asked to see them, that he wanted them, that the love was there even if the presence was not. That is what he wants to survive him, not headlines, not monuments, not even the success of his reign. He wants his grandchildren to grow up knowing that their grandfather tried. And this is why the situation feels heavier than a family disagreement. Because once a life ends, explanations cannot repair absence. Apologies cannot restore time. Regret cannot build memories that were never made. If Harry acts now, there is still space for a different ending. There is still room for ordinary moments that become extraordinary simply because they exist. There is still time for laughter in a garden, for stories told softly, for a child to remember the warmth of a grandfather's embrace. If he waits, that possibility narrows. And if he does nothing, the decision will eventually be made by circumstances that no one can reverse. William and Catherine, according to sources, understand this with painful clarity. They believe that when the chapter closes, it will close completely, and they believe the weight of that closure will not fade with public sympathy or criticism. It will remain private and permanent. Tonight, the situation is suspended between action and inaction. A father who is ill, a son who is conflicted, a mother who is firm, two children growing older by the day, and a window that is slowly, steadily closing. The king is not asking for power. He is not asking for victory. He is asking for presence. Whether that presence becomes reality depends on a choice that has yet to be made. Now I turn it over to you. Type Harry must act if you believe a son has a moral responsibility to ensure his children know their grandfather while there is still time. Type Meghan is responsible if you believe the primary obstacle is her refusal to allow contact. Type Charles deserves better if you believe no dying grandfather should be denied the chance to know his grandchildren. Because in the end, this is not about royal titles. It is about time, love, and the decisions we live with long after the opportunity to change them is gone. The clock is moving, and history will not pause for hesitation.